You can feel it, that undeniable heavy tension that floods an arena when a team falls completely out of sync. It is written in the players' slumped shoulders and whispered through the anxious murmurs of a confused crowd. You see it in the slow, clunky way the ball travels. For the first 3 minutes of Team USA's battle against Italy, things looked rough. That suffocating sense of offensive stagnation hung over the court like a thick, blinding fog. We were watching the greatest women's basketball stars on the planet looking completely and utterly ordinary. They were fighting for rhythm against an international defense they really should have been tearing to shreds. The scoreboard read 5-5, only 5 points in 3 minutes for an offensive juggernaut. This slow, worrying start forced every single person watching to ask themselves the exact same question. How much longer can Team USA keep up this stubborn, nonsensical experiment with their starting five? The basketball establishment has been working hard to sell the American public a specific narrative. They want us to believe seniority equals success. That slow, half-court ball is the safest bet internationally, and that Caitlin Clark must wait her turn behind the established veterans. But during the Italy game, that whole narrative collapsed in real time. The traditional starting lineup was finally put to the test, and it was failing. The offense was completely drained of all kinetic energy. Chelsea Gray, a legendary floor general, she was running a system that felt too slow, too predictable, and lacked the explosive spark needed to shatter that Italian defensive shell. The game was turning into a muddy, grinding, low-scoring mess. Then, a moment of total clarity hit the Team USA sideline. Head coach Kara Lawson was busy with her college team during March Madness. That left assistant coach Nate Tibbetts to run the entire show. And Tibbetts, watching a frozen offense and a scoreboard that would not budge, did exactly what a rational, analytical basketball mind should do. He ditched the politics and the ego management. 3 minutes in, he looked down the bench and called out the number 22. What followed was not just a shift in momentum, it was a violent, hostile takeover of the entire game. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the hardwood, the United States team had only 5 points. Over the next 6.5 minutes, with Clark running point, the squad erupted for 23 points. Let me say that again, because the sheer statistical absurdity of that run needs to sink in. They had 5 points in 3 minutes without her, and 23 in 6.5 with her. The offense did not just improve. It underwent a fundamental, spectacular metamorphosis. The second Clark took control of the ball, the geometry of the court stretched to its breaking point. Italian defenders who had spent 3 minutes packing the paint and playing passing lanes were suddenly thrown into a state of total, breathless panic. They had to extend their defense out to the 30-foot mark, terrified of Clark's limitless shooting range. And the very second they push that pressure out, the Team USA offense became an unstoppable, synchronized machine. Let's get moving. Oh, look, misdirection. Backdoor cut. Take it to the rack for the layup. Check the score. It was 5-5. We only had 5 points in the opening 3 minutes. Caitlin Clark is here. Watch the absolute brilliance of this specific possession. This is exactly what we mean when a player rewrites an offense's entire operating system. Clark has the ball, and every Italian defender has their eyes glued to her every move. They are waiting for the deep three. They are anticipating the pick and roll. But Clark uses a brilliant piece of misdirection. She manipulates them with her eyes, opening a tiny window of vulnerability along the baseline. That backdoor cut is executed to absolute perfection, and Clark delivers a pass that bypasses the defensive rotation, leading to an effortless, high-percentage layup at the rim. This is not just throwing the ball to an open teammate. This is active manipulation, forcing the opponent to surrender the easiest shot in basketball. She is playing chess while they play checkers. But as spectacular as that first quarter avalanche was, the real story of this game, the undeniable proof of Caitlin Clark's necessity to this roster, was actually revealed when she was forced back to the bench. During the second and third quarters, the coaching staff simply reverted to their traditional rotations. They benched their generational catalyst to catch her breath, but the resulting minutes on the floor were a total tactical disaster. The offense instantly crumbled, returning to the stagnant, uninspired, clunky mess we saw during those first 3 minutes. Without Clark stretching the floor, the Italian defense tightened its grip. the passing lanes vanished completely. Transition buckets dried up, replaced by a grueling struggle without Caitlin Clark on the floor. Team USA barely outscored Italy by 7 points during that entire stretch. It was a gritty dogfight, a brutal grind for every single bucket. This is exactly the kind of play that leaves favorites vulnerable to a massive international upset. The squad looked human, relying on solo heroics instead of a fluid offensive system. They were desperate for someone to break them out of this painful stagnation. Then, the fourth quarter finally arrived. Coaching finally unleashed the lethal rotation that every basketball fan had been dying to see on court. They put Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers, and Kelsey Plum out there together. Suddenly, it is behind the back, through the legs pure magic. Just wait until you see this sequence. Hold on, spin around, a fadeaway right in her face, bucket. If you doubt her ability to shred elite defenders in one-on-one isolation, you need to watch this sequence on repeat until you get it. Critics love to say she just shoots threes, claiming she lacks the tight handles of a classic point guard. They say she cannot break people down. Watch this move kill that ridiculous myth. Isolated on the wing, she goes behind her back to freeze the defender in their tracks. She shifts into a crossover to find her rhythm, stops on a dime, and rises for a turnaround jumper right over the defender. It is cold-blooded. Her mechanics are perfect. Her footwork is elite. That release is lightning. It is the kind of shot that breaks a defender's spirit because you can play perfect defense and still get burned. She is a total offensive weapon operating at the absolute peak of her game. But the final quarter was about more than just scoring. It was about team chemistry evolving and silencing the toxic internet rumors regarding locker room drama and petty internal friction among the stars. We have heard non-stop talk about Angel Rhee and Caitlin Clark clashing. People have dissected every clip trying to prove some hidden sabotage agenda. But the tape from this fourth quarter shatters that whole narrative into a million tiny pieces for everyone to see. She sizes her up, creates space. Step back. That is the signature Caitlin Clark 3 going to her left. Believe it or not, Angel Rhee is hyped. Just look at the space she has. She pulls it from deep. Bang. End of the quarter. Angel Rhee missed earlier, but check out the unselfish teamwork on display right here. Angel Rhee, the player they say hates Clark, sets an absolutely brutal textbook screen to free her up. She destroys the defender, doing all the dirty work needed. She opens the door, and Caitlin Clark walks through it with lethal precision. She uses that step back, drifting left to create a ton of space before launching a deep missile from the logo. The ball snaps the nylon, and Angel Rhee is right there celebrating the play. This is championship-level basketball. It is about using individual talent to build a totally unstoppable unit. Rhee brings the muscle while Clark provides the elite, long-range scoring threat. When these two superstars are on the same page, running the pick and roll or a handoff, there is not a defense on earth that can actually contain them. If that half-court game wasn't scary enough for the world, their transition offense in the fourth was a masterclass in pure basketball speed. Once you grab that defensive board, the clock is running. You only have about 2.5 seconds to catch a defense out of position. If your point guard insists on walking the ball up, that window of opportunity slams shut fast. But with a player who treats every possession like a full sprint, the fast break becomes a lethal weapon. Where is she? There. She finds Caitlin Clark, and Clark is already pushing the pace. Paige is already running. Look at her thread the needle. Beautiful. Right between two helpless defenders. That pass was so nasty the defender almost tripped. Look at her stumble. Watch how this whole play develops. Kiki Eurofan fights through the crowd to snag a tough defensive rebound. But the real magic happens the moment she lands. She doesn't waste time dribbling or trying to be the hero. No flashy point-forward stuff here. She instantly spots her point guard and fires a textbook outlet pass down court. The very moment the ball hits Caitlin Clark's hands, the Italian defense is already in deep trouble. Paige Bueckers, reading the floor with her elite basketball IQ, takes off in a full sprint. What happens next is pure, unadulterated basketball magic. Clark pushes the tempo at breakneck speed, dissecting the retreating defenders in real time. She sees Boer darting toward the rim, but two Italian defenders are parked right in the passing lane. For 99% of point guards on Earth, that passing window is slammed shut. Most would pull the ball out and reset. But Clark doesn't believe in closed windows. She threads an absolutely impossible needle, firing a pass with such intense velocity and precision that the defender literally stumbles and nearly falls over in a desperate scramble to intercept it. The ball hits Buchers perfectly in stride for a smooth, effortless finish. When you have Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers on the floor together, it is not just easy work. It is a total offensive clinic. The spacing, shooting, and playmaking make the entire game look completely effortless. It is a massive shift from the sluggish, grinding basketball of the middle quarters to the beautiful, high-octane flow of the USA starting lineup. The stats from this game are so overwhelmingly dominant they honestly border on the absurd. Caitlin Clark finished with 12 points, 5 assists, and an absolutely staggering, mind-bending 102% true shooting percentage. In the complex world of advanced basketball analytics, true shooting percentage measures a player's total efficiency by accounting for field goals, three-pointers, and every single free throw. To register 102%, metric means you are playing with a level of offensive perfection that is almost mathematically impossible to keep up. It means you are maximizing every single touch and every shot in every single possession. But the most damning statistic for the coaches, the number that completely exposes the flaw in their rotation strategy, is the plus-minus. Caitlin Clark walked away from this game with a team-high plus 25 rating. Let us put that number in context. While the middle quarters were competitive, the minutes with Clark on the floor were an absolute bloodbath. When she played, Team USA was 25 points better than the Italian national team. The team dropped 28, but when she sat, the team looked lost. The contrast was so stark, so undeniable, and so glaringly obvious that it felt like we were watching two different basketball teams wearing the exact same jerseys. We have officially reached a critical breaking point in the Team USA experiment. The time for playing it safe is over. The time for protecting veteran egos has officially passed. You don't bench someone with a 102% true shooting percentage, a plus 25 rating, and transforms a sluggish offense into a high-octane machine, just to sit them on the bench for the tip. This isn't just a coaching mistake anymore. It is becoming legitimately ridiculous. Interim head coach Nate Tibbetts saw the truth 3 minutes in. He saw the offensive emergency. He hit the panic button and brought in the savior. But it shouldn't take an emergency to play your best player. It shouldn't take a 5-point drought to realize your traditional lineup is completely obsolete. The international competition is only getting tougher. The physical demands are only going to increase from here. And if Team USA wants to guarantee total dominance on the global stage, they need to stop playing games with the rotation, stop worrying about seniority, and finally hand the keys to the offense to the player who saved them. Thanks for tuning in to the most relentless, tactically driven basketball analysis on the internet. We don't care about mainstream narratives. We don't protect the establishment. We only speak the truth based on the game tape and advanced analytics. If you're tired of clickbait and want to understand the real X's and O's of women's basketball, make sure to smash that subscribe button and like this video. Let me know in the comments section below, is it time for the coaches to swallow their pride, bench a veteran, and name Caitlin Clark the permanent starting guard for the United States national team? I'll catch you in the next breakdown. Stay ready.